quality, right?
Oh
My
Lord.
God. I wish everybody listening right now could have heard what's been going on for the past, 30, 40 minutes?
Oh my God. This has been menace. Oh my Lord. Oh, okay.
Well, everybody, this is Angela Knight. Angela Knight is a TikToker I met, and this is really the first time we've got a chance to speak with each other. So
Yeah.
this is a fun first-time engagement. Oh my God, it's been hilarious. Okay. So tell the folks what you do and what you do on TikTok.
Oh, no.
And everything. I'm all messed up right now.
This is terrible. So, you either hate me or love me on
Right.
TikTok. It's one of the worst things. I think that it's not fair. You only have like 60 seconds to catch someone's attention. So I have like 60 seconds to be witty, humorous, and accurately correct on whatever the hell I say. Enough to piss people off,
Yeah.
but just enough to keep them listening. So it's usually just, I would like to say, it's not, people say like she's pro men. I'm not pro men or pro women. It's just pro facts. I think it's facts. I'm 28, so whatever the hell goes on my age and younger. So usually I'm just kind of men's right in bringing more reality into whatever this generation is clouded by. So that's what my TikTok kind of based off of around at this point.
And that's how I found you because, again, I wouldn't say, you know what, I hate labels. I'm an older guy. I'm 45, right? I hate labels. So when they say, are you blue pill, red pill? I'm like, well, what's that?
Yeah.
And even when I hear the definition, I still don't like labeling myself that.
Agreed.
So the fact that the videos that I have seen from you, you are speaking on behalf of men and really common sense, and which comes from me. I love common sense.
Right.
Whatever's truth and whatever makes the most sense is what I go with. So I really do appreciate your videos, but I heard you were banned already 4 times on TikTok. Is that right?
Beginner's luck is what I call it. I think that I shot up way too fast on TikTok. Within a month, I went from like 1,000 to 65,000 followers, like instantly.
Really?
Yeah, because I was just ignorance is bliss. Like I think I was just like, I have a very open mind. I'm pretty blunt about things, and I mean, I've worked in the beauty industry over 12 years. So I deal with women so regular that I kind of have this open mind and this wide variety of women that I know for a fact about 90% of what I say is kind of accurate. I mean, obviously there's people who beat the statistics, and I don't really talk about the minority people. I like to talk about the mass, the majority, the general, whatever people hate. Generalization is what they usually say, that, oh, you're generalizing. So when it comes to that, I usually just attack that. And if people think that, oh, she kind of shot to there on TikTok, and next thing you know, I got banned because it started reaching people who had bigger communities who were like, you know what, we don't like her. And this cancel culture, I don't like cancel culture. I hate it. And it's usually not men. Men aren't sitting there mass reporting me. It's women. That's the thing. These keyboard warriors. I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, because you don't agree with what I say? I have a bone to pick with that cancel culture. I don't agree with it at all. I hate it. So it's been a pain in the ass.
I do too, because for me, I've been banned 3 times, but I was lucky to get my account and the existing account back. It didn't like delete. But everybody, like you said, who's banned me, it's been either feminists or LGBTQ. It's been other communities, but it's never been men.
No.
And that's one thing I don't like about TikTok, and that's why I'm kind of moving to YouTube, is that it's okay. Again, I come from a different generation where it's okay to disagree with somebody. Like the term, like, hey, I don't agree with you. I respect your opinion, but I don't agree with you. That's not present anymore nowadays, and the fact that so many people just don't agree with me and just labeling me a misogynist or a Nazi. Someone called me a Nazi with like a me? Like, what are you talking about? I'm a Hispanic from San Antonio. I'm not a Nazi. I'm a dad. Come on. It's been ridiculous, but it's been horrible. And TikTok is probably the worst platform for that, to allow the voice of maybe a small minority to take down an entire platform that's benefiting thousands.
Agreed.
Maybe millions.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. I just don't think it's fair. I think like this is such a sensitive generation where if they don't like something, they deplatform you. Meanwhile, we have trash music that are influencing girls to go to Planned Parenthood and just abort their kids. And I'm like, there's music that are influencing people to do the stupidest things and like trash music that people they know all the lyrics. I don't know the lyrics to any of the crap that are out nowadays. And like those people aren't, they're you know, they're still walking around just fine. Epstein had his freaking, you know, his bank accounts forever. And like there's people, it's a pick and choose thing. And I don't like it. And again, I think everybody's really sensitive.
I don't either.
And I think that people are letting their iPhones and iPads raise their kids. And they're mad that content creators are creating content that are too realistic for them because they want to live in this utopia world. And I'm like, are you you dense, or are you just not wanting to see the truth here? What's going on here? So it's unfortunate, but I did get my account back. But I'm on the little warning thingy, the red account warning. Do you know what that is?
Oh, you have that too? I haven't seen it yet, but other creators who speak in the same items as I do, same topics, they're getting it.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I haven't been posting as much.
Agreed, but you
Seriously.
know, TikTok it's crazy because it's the most engagement you're ever gonna get. Like on any other platform, you can't.
Yeah.
It's so easy to funnel traffic from there, and this is why like for the past month I've been in a slight depression because it's like I moved here and I'm trying to get my studio so that I can funnel all that traffic over to my podcast, but I haven't been able to I haven't done anything. Like I've just been taking a break because like the TikTok crap has really like gotten to me, and I'm like I need to take a break, and I've never been one to take a break, but I actually really needed it. But yeah, it's crazy. TikTok is crazy. I hate, love it. It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, there was I think right now there's about I last stopped counting at 10 million. There's about 10 million women that hate me.
Oh, wow.
And that's quite a lot because of some videos and some things that have gone viral that were not part of my content. But
yeah.
It's funny. There were times where I was so obsessed with TikTok, my girlfriend would just be like, just put it away, please.
Yeah.
Just put it away. And I'm like, I can't let them win, babe. No,
Yeah.
give me the phone.
Yeah.
But I was like Frodo with the ring. I just take my phone, and I had to step away from it for a couple weeks. It can really consume your life. And I was never the type of guy who was always on his phone.
Yeah.
And I just found myself always holding it. Even in the shower, I'm holding it. And it's like, this has to stop.
Oh, no.
It
Did the comments get to you?
Actually, no, but some of them did. It's funny, like, you can call me whatever you want.
Yeah.
Simp, beta, all this bullshit.
Yeah.
But the moment you start attacking my kids or my girlfriend.
Yeah.
I remember my dad passed away this past summer. And somebody said, I'm glad your dad died.
Yes.
That is fucked up.
My God. Oh my God. You're hitting the nail on the head. I swear we're gonna be like best friends right now. I don't talk. I don't talk about my personal life on Instagram. I do not like that. I don't talk about my family much. I mean, the only thing I've ever brought up was my brother, who he passed away like over 10 years ago, and like I don't like to talk. Thank you. It happened forever ago, but like people are so weird that they actually drag the dead, and I'm like, he's dead. Like, how are you gonna? If you can't even have sympathy for the dead, why would I bring my boyfriend into this? Why would I bring my other friends and family? Like, I'm super private. Like, my Instagram, like, I don't post anything on my Instagram. Every now and then I'll post it and then, like, I'll archive it because I'm like, oh, I didn't really need that. I'm good. You know, I'm here for to create a traffic from my content, and that's it. That's all I care about. I don't care about the flashy, showboaty stuff. It's really not my thing. So, and like you said, you mentioned, you saw my episode where I was like, I'm not a hypocrite as much as it seems like it is. Like, I'm there for a reason. I know why I'm here, and my boyfriend gives me this, and people say, what do you mean he gives you this luxury? I don't have to do the shit that I do. I choose to do it. He lets me do it. And he's like, at any point, if this gets too stressful, I'm going to need you to cut it out. Like, you don't have to exert yourself into this environment. It's toxic, and women handle it different. And he personally, his work doesn't involve him being on the computer and being on social media. So he knows how bad it gets, and like you said, how you were on the phone and you couldn't help it. Like, I was getting to that, but I couldn't express it to him because he would have been like, "Didn't we have this talk? Didn't we have this talk?" And I was like, "Okay." So I turned off my notifications. I only look when I want to go on, and when I'm around him, my phone's completely away. And I don't want him to feel like you're getting consumed by this. Like, no. Like, I know relationships are really important more than anything. Like, I don't have kids, so to me, like, that goes first. So for me, it's like, I need to have discipline. I don't want him to look at me like, what are you doing, Ange? Like, you're losing your shits. Because I don't look at him that way. Why does he have to look at me that way, you know? So it's crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It is. And let's kind of like, let's kind of rewind here because obviously you said you're 28, I'm 45, and we're totally different generations, completely different. And that's great. And the reason I wanted to talk to you mainly is because I was married 16 years, divorced, right? That whole story. I didn't start dating until 39, so my dating life didn't start from 39 to like past couple years. So that's my experience. But my demographic, believe it or not, there's a big part of my demographic of young men that are 18 to 29. And I really, they tell me all these things of what's going on in the dating world, and I can't relate to it because I didn't experience that. But you're 28, what is the dating world like? Because all I'm seeing is confusion and hate right now amongst the two genders. And I'm not saying it's the woman's fault. I'm not saying it's the men's fault. There's a lot of bad people out there.
I think there's
And what are you seeing? Like, what's the biggest red flag out there? Go ahead.
The red flag, I would have to say it's on both, but as a woman, I'd have to say like we kind of dictate what the market wants, and it's unfortunate now because hookup culture.
Always have.
Yes, but like more than ever, like women, it was more discreet before, like it was more like subtle, and it was like, I don't know, I would have to say everything was more romanticized back in the day. Like nowadays, it's like transactional.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's very like hard, like in your face transactional. I think things are always transactional, but like more than ever, it's almost like, what do you have to bring to the table? And it's almost like, whoa, easy there. Can we like bond a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
They don't do that anymore. It's just,
Right.
They're advocating hardcore for hookup culture, which I highly like stand against. I do not agree with hookup culture. But again, like obesity is ridiculous nowadays. People abuse a lot of privileges. So people don't have discipline in one area. Why would they have discipline in, dating and sexual partners and having the discipline to not hump the first thing that urges them to feel like, oh, you know what? I like this feeling. People aren't going to do that.
And you see that, and you see women are doing that, or men are doing that?
Women are Women are
everybody in
competing
general?
with men to do it. Like the men are doing it just because I would have to say it's so easy to be. I don't know. I would say like to generate a source of income for men nowadays. So they have a source of like opportunity,
Oh, yeah.
but also women. There's an abundance amount of women who are gorgeous, who are also soliciting themselves online, who are also making it very easy to get access to them. So it's almost like. It's a win-win for men in a weird way where it's like you could either have, the whole fairy tale, or you can just live a life of just kind of like bouncing around and never really committing and then choosing to commit whenever you want to, because it's kind of timeless for men, especially if you have a source of, I don't know, like an empire, or you created some sort of like a lifestyle where women want to be part of.
Right.
So unfortunately women don't realize it. It's different for men than it is for women. So I've noticed that women are competing with men in that sense where they want to be a boss bitch. They want to have multiple partners and say, well, I can easily have sex with someone and be unattached. That's not healthy, babe. Like, it's not healthy for a girl to go hump a bunch of people and say, like, I'm emotionally unattached. I can do this easily. That's not healthy. That's not, we're just not wired that way. I can't say that. And if you are as a girl, I'd say, get some therapy. Like, that's not normal. Like, they hate me for it.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
We're going to be best friends because believe it or not, like I said, 39 is when I really first started dating. I hadn't dated since I was 18 and all that other stuff because I got married at 21. And I keep saying this in all my videos. The one thing that shocked me the most when I first started dating was how sexually aggressive women were.
Yes.
And back in the day in the 90s, you had to work for it. You never really hooked up the first date. I mean, it happened, but it wasn't as often as it happened now. I remember I would just pick some girl up and we're going to the movie. Yeah. And we're driving to the movie. She goes, "Can I suck your dick?" And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "Sure." I mean, fuck it. Let's go see John Wick. What better way to start off than see John Wick 2?
Isn't that crazy?
I was like, oh my God, it was.
The bar is in hell.
Well, I didn't complain, but it just shocked me.
The bar is in hell. Well, this is the thing. I try to tell women, like, men are never going to turn down sex. Like, I would say sex is almost like motivation for men. Money and sex are like top tier for men. And it's just like, it sounds so, what? I mean, obviously there's other things, but those are a must. Like, if men don't have some sort of, a sex life, that's going to affect them financially. As a certain point, you get to... in your 30s, it starts deteriorating your mind, and like women don't see that. It doesn't affect women that way. Like, I would say, like, women will my boyfriend asked me, like, what could you live without, kisses or sex? I could live without sex. I need kisses. I need hugs and kisses. I'm an emotional person.
Yeah, I'm a great kisser. I need a kiss. Yeah.
But you're like, life or death.
I love kissing.
But life or death. Yeah, he was just like, he's like, as a guy, we need sex. I love sex. I was like, I know how men more than ever operate. So it's like, I don't think women realize, like, most women participate in sex more than ever, hookup culture, but they don't really enjoy sex until they're mostly in tune with the guy, with their partner. And a lot of them would try to justify it.
I agree with that.
Right? Like, they'll do it just because they know, like, maybe I'll, get him to stick around and seal the deal or whatever. And for men, I would have to say, generally, it's almost like, it could easily be a handshake for men, especially if they're deprived from it. They'll, it's cool, it's nice, especially if it's from the girl that you don't really care about. It's even more transactional for men, more than ever. especially if they have nothing
Yeah.
to live for. Like a lot of these guys are from single parent homes. They don't have anything going for themselves. So if a piece of ass on the weekend is their highlight, they're not going to turn that down.
Mm-hmm.
It's
No.
life. It's a dog eat dog game. And I think like with women, they don't want to accept that. It's not, no one's going to be honest to you. No one's going to be like, you know what? You're not wifey material, but you do have a fat ass, but I'm not going to sleep with you. Like,
Yeah.
they're not going to tell you that. Why would they tell you that? You know? It's
No,
unfortunate. But I would say, like, women, and that's why, like, on TikTok, people think that I hate women. I don't hate women. It's just the flaws lay in women's hand. Like, I'm like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to engage into this. So you can definitely, you know, if you're supplying this is why the market is demanding that. You're supplying free pussy. Is this point blank? Like, and then they, like, stop supplying it so easily. And people are gonna
Yeah.
have to change their gears. And I mean, I myself have watched that. My boyfriend was like a frat boy, and I was not interested. I liked him, but I wasn't interested in that. And I watched him change his entire feathers because I didn't engage into a lot of things that he was used to, social media, the nightlife, you know, like all that stuff that his ex-girlfriends were into. I didn't do it, not because I was trying to be cool, just because that's who I am and that's what I stand for. And he changed without me forcing, without me, you know, muscling him, all that leverage stuff that women do. You don't have to do all that. If it's the right person and you're compatible, they'll change for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And you touched on something, you touched on OnlyFans briefly about having monetization when it comes to
Yes.
their beauty. The one thing that concerns me as an older guy, to see a woman naked back in the day, you had to, again, work for it or get a
Yeah.
Playboy, right? Now it's on your phone, it's all over the place, it's on Instagram. But I find it shocking that most young men, this is the kind of cadence of what happens. They see a hot girl, do you have an OnlyFans? Where's her at? And they go, and 9 times out of 10, they go to this girl's profile who's always beautiful, but she's got naked photos of herself for the
Yeah.
price of $4.99.
$4.99, cheaper than Netflix.
And I'm wondering, these are young men. These are young men. And I mean, these are young. I mean, think about the young kids who are like teenagers
Yeah.
and maybe early 20s. How are they going to be with that type of mentality and as they see women in their 40s? How are they going to be to know that, hey, if a hot woman, if I see her 9 times out of 10, I can go and pay $4 and see her naked?
Yeah,
That is horrible to me.
they're desensitized at this point. I've said it before.
It scares me.
Yeah. It's ruining
Yeah.
the entire dating market. It's the bar is literally in hell. And at the same time, even though it's in hell, it's easily, you could bring it back up like that. Like I've noticed, like men are only, as women say, shitty. They're only as shitty as their environment. Like at the end of the day, I've noticed that men
Yeah.
are bored. They're bored at this point. You know, like men could easily play video games, live with a futon with their best friend. They're completely fine with that. The only reason why
They don't need much.
they don't need much, you know, like it's very simple for men. The only reason why men buy fancy cars, do this luxury stuff, to attract the women they want, because in their mind, like that's what they think they need, and women prove to them, yeah, that's what we need. They show them the short dopamine hit that they need for the week or the day, the life. That's what it is. There's no depth
Yeah.
into it, and I mean I think there's more to that. Like obviously that stuff is nice for women who like that stuff, but beyond that, now what? And people are so fixated on this surface lifestyle, they're not going into depth on creating, you know, integrity and morals and all that stuff. They don't live off of that stuff. It's more so just chasing this high, the $4.99 OnlyFans thing, and like, oh my God, I was in Miami, I was able to eat at this restaurant that Drake was at, like shit like that. I'm like, is that really gonna be
Yeah.
sustainable long term for you? You know?
No.
So.
No, like you said, it's just a short-term high. And like I said, like I got single 39, right? And one thing I discovered is, well, there's a lot of things I discovered. Like I was like Captain America, frozen for 70 years, and here I am in the modern world. Like, wow, this is totally different. Women, of course, I was married 16 years, and I just wanted to go have fun. So I was upfront with every woman. Like,
Yeah.
look, I don't want a relationship. I just want to have fun. So I went for those girls, those Instagram models. And those were some of the probably the most beautiful women I've ever dated, but they were also some of the most empty, shallow, horrible, toxic, insecure people I've ever dated in my entire life.
Yes.
It was all about what I can give them, what I can buy them,
Oh yeah.
and taking a photo of them in front of some restaurant that everybody wants to go to. It was really just a social media thing. And I was eating it up like, hey, we're having fun, I'm doing my thing, whatever, but it was a dopamine high. Whatever, it was never enough. It always had to be something.
Yeah.
Like I found myself caught like in a cycle. Like I got to get her something. I got to buy her
Yeah.
something. Then after a while, I'm like, Rudy, what the fuck are you doing, man? This is not worth it. It's not worth it. Yeah, and I get that they think that their beauty and body and just being an arm trophy is the price for us, but
Yeah.
it runs from an old man standpoint. I've known plenty of men who married that woman at 25, and at 35 they're miserable. because the looks are gone. She never had character, and they're always fighting.
Yep.
And she's about to file for divorce.
Agreed. I agree.
And that's what I wish. That's what I wish young men understood. That looks are great. We all want a beautiful woman, but they're not the most important thing. The character is really what matters.
Yes, I think with everything, it's too far right or too far left. In metaphorically and everything.
Extremes.
I just wish that people could understand there's a balance in both. There really is. Like, it's not fair that it has resulted to people saying, like, you know what, looks isn't everything. Looks isn't everything, but I'll tell you what, if my plate of food looks like shit, I'm not eating it. So we're gonna have to come to a happy medium here. You know, and like the thing was, like, women have the power to dictate that people can have it all, and she herself could have it all, but it starts with the woman. Like, I've always said that, and I will stand by it. Women dictate how men choose to be with them and how men choose to support them, and women want support from men, financially or emotionally, all the above. And it's like, if you want that from a guy and all he's asking you to do is be sweet, be objectively pretty, I don't know, not lose your shit, be emotionally in tune, have compassion, have a heart, for God's sakes, have a personality, I think those things are priceless. It doesn't cost much at all. And you're choosing not to find yourself, and you're choosing just to sell yourself short. I think women sell themselves very short nowadays. Like, I had a girl who told me, oh yeah, I was like, sex sells on TikTok, and I think I'll just go back to that. And I'm like, have you tried to engage into anything else? There's a market for everything. You don't have to do strictly sex, but that's what sells faster. And women are quick. The women don't want to invest into things. They're not very, like, patient. They want that quick dopamine hit. It goes back to that. So.
Yeah. And part of me thinks, like, because I've actually talked to a few women who did OnlyFans, and their situation was pretty dire.
Yeah.
Like, they were single mothers, and they had no income, and they needed, things are expensive nowadays, so they needed to do something. So I can understand them going that route if they're going to make, $30,000 a month, whatever the case is for some of these 1%ers. But I'm sure they know the long-term consequences to this. I mean, most guys are not going to want a serious relationship with somebody who has an OnlyFans account or had, photos that they can Google their name and see that.
Yeah.
That's going to ruin the long-term gain is not there.
Agreed. No, I think that's why, like, I have such a bone to pick with women. Like, we go back to my TikTok and my podcast stuff. It's like, take accountability. I always tell people, like, I don't care what you do with your life, but just know the consequences. If you want to be built like a baked bean, understand the choices that you pick better match how you look, your personality. If you're pretty vanilla, I hope to God your partner's pretty vanilla also. I just don't think that people understand the reality of themselves. They keep gassing themselves up, and they think they're more than what they are because, like, the internet will tell them, yes, girl, you're beautiful. Yes, agreed. Yes, queen, 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 queen. I'm like, whoa, chill. I was like, yeah, I think everybody should be, it's one thing to have confidence, but it's one thing to be realistic. And your results, it'll pan out sooner or later, if it's now or later. And I think, like, for people to argue with me online and say, well, where are your stats? If I tell you to eat cake for 10 years, you're going to be diabetic. I don't have stats. You'll find out in 10 years when you're in a fucking coffin or shooting up needles in your arm. Like, there's no stats on that. So I would say, like, a lot of the girls that I've noticed, like, finally, I have 30, I did the stats today. I have 30% women, finally, on TikTok. That follow me. Some are haters, but some are like, okay, I'm in my 30s. I agree with everything you're saying. Why do you have to be in your 30s to understand what the fuck I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with being in your 30s, but the problem with, I have to say, women in their 30s is that their guard is up. They usually have kids, multiple kids, more than ever, emotional damage or baggage, whatever you want to call it. And that's completely fine. But instead of healing and like, dealing with that stuff, they usually jump onto the next relationship and want the new guy to fix it and heal it. And that's not his job. He's not. And they get mad that these guys go for younger girls because the guys don't want. He just got, like, for example, you just got out of a marriage. You don't want to deal with another responsibility. You just want to have fun. And it's like the last thing you do is jump into a relationship and worry about her kids, her emotional damage and baggage, her insecurity. You don't want to deal with that. It's fair. It's preference. No. It's a human preference. It's not even just a guy or girl. No girl wants to date a guy with mommy issues. So, like, if a guy doesn't want that, why are you mad? Guys can't say it.
Exactly.
And if I say it, I'm a pick-me girl. You can't win.
And just to kind of talk about your platform, I love, because, again, everything's very logical and it's truth. And I always ask everybody that I talk to, like, how did you get so knowledgeable about women and just everything in general? You said that you were you were surrounded by women. I heard a live, right? And you were surrounded by women. And you just kind of heard them complain and talk about their lives, and this was for years,
yes.
right? Go ahead and talk about that.
It stems. It's a deep one for me. I think, like, personally, my mom is one of an example. My aunt, all the women in my family are a prime example of the type of women I talk about. So this shit's been going on forever. It's not a new age thing.
Okay.
And on top of that, I was in like the nail industry for over 12 years. I'm surrounded by women. And once upon a time, I fed into the victim mentality. I would listen to them, and I myself, I got cheated on. Like, a couple of my boyfriend before this cheated on me, and I played the victim card very heavily. I don't think there's any reason justified cheating, but I think there's a why for everything. People should really look for the why.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and women in specific don't want to hear the why. It's mostly like, well, it should have never been done. I'm like, well, maybe you should never gotten fat. Maybe you should have never stopped sucking his dick. Maybe you should like start keep cleaning and cooking. You can't get with somebody and then change the fucking like the format halfway just because you don't feel like it. That's not fair. It's still an agreement at the end of the day in any relationship. But, you know, like me just being surrounded by women, I've just picked up on this. That I myself working on women, there's days where I was just disgusted and turned off. And I was like, why do I feel this way? Like, I'm a woman and I'm dealing with you and I'm disgusted. So I started talking to my boyfriend and my uncle. And I'm like, why do women blah, 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 blah? And he was like, you know what? I never thought you would fucking ask. I was like, okay, can you educate me, buddy? Because I don't want to end up like them. You know, so I have like a perspective from my boyfriend and my uncle. But like in the beginning, they would tell me and I'd be like, and they would tell me like, if we're going to tell you, you're not going to listen. We're never going to tell you ever again. So I had to quickly check my attitude because I'm pretty intuitive. And I think that comes from like childhood where like if you come from a broken home, you don't want to piss off your parents. You know, like you don't want to do anything that would cost it. Like you're very intuitive, like, oh, okay, all right, let me just keep molding to make people happy. And you'd hope to God that you change that as you get older. But I definitely picked up on that, and I've made little changes to where women used to hate me in the industry, and then in time they loved me because I started resembling a man, not by choice, just because I started giving them what they wanted, but it didn't cost me anything to give it to them. And then I realized like, it was all emotional stroking for women. It was all like, sell me rainbows and butterflies and tell me I'm right even though I'm wrong. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to conduct business right now. Are you gonna get your shit done or not? You want to talk about you're beautiful, let's do this. So I started understanding why men get what they want so easily compared to what women can't get. So I think just being in a shoe where I'm able to mold being a guy really helped a lot. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And there's a few videos that I love that you had, and I want to ask you this. You've mentioned in a few videos that women cannot take accountability. Now, I've seen that firsthand on my end, but why do you think that is from your experience?
I think multiple things. I think like again, women we were given privilege. We were born with this sense of like entitlement already. If they have fathers, your dad told you that you were a princess. You know you could never do any wrong. If you have brothers, younger brothers, older brothers, like you couldn't do shit. You could do everything. Your brothers couldn't complain. So I think we already have privilege from youth, from hardwiring. Like it's just natural at this point.
Okay.
So I think like that travels over to adulthood, and even for women who don't have fathers, they're searching for that. They want that. They watch these Disney movies. They watch their friends who have dads. They're searching for that validation from men. So at the end of the day, like how can you take accountability when you're still searching for validation? If you're resembling what you had as a kid, or you're looking for what you didn't have. It's between the two. And if somebody tells you you're wrong, you start crying, and if someone hugs you, you don't really deal with it. As opposed to like my brothers, if they fucked up, my mom would be like, all right, well, shut up. It's, that's your sister. I don't want to hear it. Go throw a football. Go play some video games. Like sort your feelings out with sports. Go punch a wall or something. Like women were not ever dealt with their problems. They just somebody always took it off their hands. And for men generally, and I like to speak generally, so there's a minority group of people who obviously beat the stats. There's people who beat it, but at the end of the day, like men have to cope with it, and women just get to just run off with it. Like, oh, well, just get some ice cream. Oh, put some glitter on me. Oh, put some stickers on here. You don't ever deal with it. And I think it stems from that, and more than ever, this culture, and more than ever, nobody wants to take accountability because you have Instagram. Everyone's telling Lizzo she's beautiful. Have you seen the
oh God.
Yeah, Lizzo. Really? Yeah, you haven't seen that?
No.
Oh my God. No. Okay, so for my For You page is everywhere. So you have these girls who lose weight, who do the before and after transformation. And you'll see the girls say, oh my God, transformation before and after. Look at my weight loss. And you'll hear people say, oh my God, you were beautiful before and after. She said she lost weight. She didn't
Yeah, I've
say
seen
she
that
was
trend.
fat. She didn't say she was. She didn't say she was ugly. She said she lost weight. So people equate the word fat and ugly together. They create this narrative. They throw it out there, and they get mad when you mention it. So then after a while, these bigger
Yeah.
girls are like, "Well, I'm beautiful. The internet says I'm beautiful." I'm like, "Listen, you're beautiful in your own way." But for the
Yeah,
guy,
in your own unique spiritual way. but
Yeah,
not physically,
'cause
like
in
a
your
physical
heart-
attraction way. Yeah.
in your heart, I know everyone's a good person, but how they choose to exert that energy, it's different. And you start projecting
Yeah.
how you feel onto other people. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. When you are not happy with your body, you project negativity somehow in some form of way. So
Yeah.
yeah, we will have a tangent
That's
on
one
that.
thing I've noticed. That's one thing I've noticed. Like, I'll be on social media and somebody like very large will be in a two-piece bikini, and everyone's like, "Yeah, queen, you're beautiful," and I'm like, I look at my girlfriend, like, why are they lying to her?
Yeah.
I mean, why is this?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Just
It's bullshit.
why? And of course, I can't say anything because I would get canceled
Exactly.
and get fired.
Exactly.
And just lynched by millions of people. But I've seen that too. I don't know where that comes from, but yeah, everyone's beautiful a person can be large but have a beautiful personality, right? She's just like, hey, we're inviting, whatever. But when it comes to physical attraction,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
not at all. That's not what we want. So
Nah, I
feel
think
like
people.
saying that out loud. I think
It's no, so you know what it is? I think like I was talking to someone last night in live and they were saying how they wanted super equal rights. Like she was strung on it. She was like, even if you created a company, all the workers should be equal rights, equal pay, equal blah blah blah. Relationships equal. And I'm like, so you guys are the motherfuckers that planting this seed right here. You guys are the one who put no effort into yourself. But then you want to get with like I don't know, what's his name? All the celebrity guys who look like they're built and chiseled like statues. Like you want to get with those guys who put time and work into their body, but you put no time and effort into
Yeah.
yourself. Like how is that fair? So it's not. It's not about fairness.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, but you want equality. Equality is fair, no? So you start using their logic against them, and then they should start malfunctioning. They start like freaking out. I'm like, all right, report.
yeah. That's why I always come with data and screenshots and logic whenever I have feminists attack me now, because there's nothing they can say. They just like, oh, fuck you, Nazi. I actually had one said that like was so upset with me that they were gonna call CPS and report me as an abusive father to get my kids taken away. Can you believe that? That's how bad it got at this one point. Yeah, and I have said nothing wrong. So yeah, you're right. When you come back with logic and facts, they can't come back with anything other than hate and threats.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that.
It's insane.
I've given up on that. There's no reasoning on TikTok. That's why I don't want to reason with people anymore. I try to
just
play
block.
nice. Yes, block. My new favorite thing, which they need to learn how to do.
Block.
I tell them, if you don't like
Yeah.
me, swipe up or block. But they don't want to block me. They want to start
Yeah.
ruckus. It's weird.
What was I going to ask you? Body counts. I went on one of your lives.
You were
Now-
there.
and you know what? And I wasn't going on to judge. I wasn't going on to ridicule anybody because everybody's has their own opinion.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course.
But and body counts, I went on, and this Tony the Tiger guy just went off on me, and I'm like, whatever, dude. We'll talk another time.
Yeah.
But body counts. Let me again from this old man's perspective at 39. Like when I went out to the dating world, like I said, everybody had already got divorced, had a kid, met the love of their lives, and separated. So I wasn't going to judge anybody about what they had done. Now that doesn't mean I'm just going to date somebody who had a really checkered past. And I think what we're forgetting is that when you're dating somebody, right, you kind of get an idea of who they are. Like I just told that story. I picked up this one girl first date. She starts giving me a BJ. Okay, you're obviously not going to be somebody I'm going to consider for a serious relationship,
Exactly.
right? That's obviously not going to happen, and that probably speaks to what she's done in the past. So there it is. But if I'm dating a woman and she's well-spoken, she's educated, and she's witty, and we're getting along great, and we're not doing anything like that on the first date, I can kind of see the character in the woman she is for who she is, right?
Right.
And then we can go from there. But I've never been one to ask because, again, at my point, who the hell am I to ask? Because I have a past myself. So when it comes to body counts, why do you think it's important for young men? Well, let me kind of rephrase that question. Why is it there's a heavy, I guess, rule that women cannot have a high body count, but guys can put their dick in anything, and that's accepted? That's the one contradiction that I don't follow as an older guy.
So I don't think that is okay. I just think that I specifically like I said in the beginning, like I'm not pro men or women. I think it's just reality, and we could talk about the should, the could,
Yeah.
and the would, and like reality is like I said, nobody has discipline anymore. But again, like who's dictating what, and it's like. I know so many
Yeah.
girls, and again, it's in a very shallow era where I asked this girl, like, all right, if he had a body count, I reversed in many ways in scenarios, and it's multiple countless times where if a guy had a high body count, but he had everything to offer, 9 out of 10 things, she doesn't give a shit about his body count. The only reason why women actually care about men's body count is if theirs is extremely high and the guy doesn't have much to offer, but just enough where they can work with, and they want like on an equal plate of like fairness. They're willing to work with the guy. So
what's high for a woman? I just for reference, I
so,
know everyone's different.
I
right?
know,
But
like
what
this
have
is
you heard
this is the
is
tough
high
part
for?
because I think like it's always one extreme again or the other. I don't think it has anything to do with numbers. Like I've mentioned before, like I don't think it's a numbers thing. I think it's a lot of things that I like. I tell people like it's the habits that come with having a high body count. For example, you were saying like if you go on a date with somebody, she's reserved, she's calm, collected. She's most likely not going to have a body count like 30, 40, 50. She's not sleeping around town because if she did, she wouldn't be that calm reserved.
Right.
She'd be heightened because she has like PTSD of other guys beating her to the punch and her not letting her talk or she's scared that she might have to pay and all this crap. Like, what am I doing here? Or do I have to go home with you?
Right.
You can tell of these habits that women do that, oh, okay, you've done this before. Like, you know, someone who's calm and collected is like, she's observing, she's like watching everything, she's timid, and you can tell like, okay, maybe she hasn't done this a lot. And that's really what I mean when I say like body count is important for women, because it's like there's still a sense of, you know, like you still gotta be reserved and calm collected as a woman to attract the man that you want at the end of the day. Like women, we like men who are strong, who's gonna speak up, who's gonna be more like open to dealing with confrontation, you know. And if a guy he's been an experience, I'm not saying he should go screw the zip code, but I should say like he should not be scared to deal with people, men or women. I would much rather prefer that. I'm not saying like I want someone who's been around town. So I think it varies with ages. Like I'm 28, so I've known girls who are my age who are up there in the 80s. I don't even have 80 people in my contacts. Like, how have you 80s? Like a lot of my friends are street interviewers, and they interview girls, and they ask them.
I just laughed and spit out.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So my friends are interviewing these girls in Miami, in New York. Yeah, and it's crazy because like everyone's For You page is different, but like my friends are street interviewers. These are raw content of these girls saying, "I don't care. It's 80. So what? It's 50. It's 60." Da da da. Mind you, they're younger than me, and I'm not saying you should be 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just saying, like, bro, can we keep it at a reasonable rate here? Like, if you went to college, make it reasonable. If you haven't gone to college, make it more reasonable. Like, I didn't go to college. There's no reason why my shit is, you know, in the 20s, 30s. Like, there's no reason for that. I just don't think it's. And I've asked many girls, like, what did you get out of it? I've gotten good friendships out of it. Well, friendships don't require having sex. So, other than sleeping with them, what did you get out of it? Nothing. You know what I mean? And for men, I think it's important for them to experience sex. Other than that, like men are performers in bed. If you haven't had that experience, you're going to be stressing out on how to not finish fast. You're going to be, it's not just mental, it's physical for men to have that discipline. So if you only had 1 or 2 partners, you're going to be a serial killer. You're going to be a weirdo. You're going to be dreaming of a lot of other things. Like let's say a guy gets married and he hasn't have a good sex life. What happens? He starts looking at his friends who has a great sex life. He starts looking at porn. He starts looking at all these because he's dreaming about, man, what if my partner was this way? Because he hasn't gotten out of his system. Because sex is different for men than it is for women. That's why I think like people think it's unfair, but I don't think men and women are the same. We're not equal. So to say that women dream about sex like that, we don't. And if they are, they're bored with their life. They're not happy with their partner. They're not happy with themselves. So they dream about getting dick down is what they say. Women. But usually the girls who say those vulgar phrases are usually the girls who are built like a fridge. I say that and I will probably get canceled.
Well, I can't say that. I guess a woman saying that about a woman could be fine, but me, there's no.
It's me here. Like it's the whole point of me not being reserved, so I can say shit like this.
And that's why I love this. This is awesome. But while you were talking, I got a calculator out and did 80 divided by, let's just say 5 years. So that's 16 partners a year.
Exactly.
That's too much.
That's so what I mean.
And again, I don't want to come off like I don't think body counts don't matter. They do. But as a young man, then I had to go back, like in the old days, rewind. Like when I was younger, body counts did matter. Because from a guy standpoint, we didn't want somebody who was just the town bike and everyone had a ride on her or whatever. But also we went by reputation. You know, there was no social media back then. It was always her name. Hey, where does she work? Is that
exactly?
Oh, I know her. It was all reputation back then. Now with social media, you can kind of get an idea. But It does matter because, but a lot of times for young men, especially if they haven't had a successful dating life or had a lot of sex, if the woman has more than him, let's just say he's got 2 and she's got, let's go 7, a reasonable number. She's 25, right?
Okay.
I think that's okay.
Yeah.
That would, a lot of guys would still find that infuriating, and they would have this. Speaking from a young man at one point, and what young men say, there's an insecurity there because now I got to compare myself to 7 other guys. Maybe another guy's bigger than me. Maybe she did some things with him that she's not going to do with me. Now there's this insecurity because we haven't developed who we are yet and know our self-worth. And so I know when I see guys react in an angry way,
Yeah.
I know a lot of that's coming from that.
Yeah.
Because I was once at that one point. But again, I don't think there shouldn't be a lot of like harsh judges or like, I don't think a guy should ask a friend on a date. I mean, get to know a person first. And then to see how it goes, and before things get serious, I think that's a discussion. But maybe diseases, things
Yeah,
like that is something
for
we should talk
sure.
about. But I've never asked, and no woman has ever asked me.
I don't think that people.
And again, age I know is a difference.
Yeah, I don't think that people specifically ask. Like, I don't think people just say like, "What's your body count?" Like when I think body count, like what's your body count, like the TikTok topics. I think that's just like a gateway
Yeah.
to like, hey, like who was the last person you dated, or like how many people you've been with, like Like those are, I think those are normal topics. Like my boyfriend and I talked about our past because it's important because like a random girl will pop. I'm like, who's that? You know, like it's important to know these. You don't want to be blindsided by it. But let's say names keep popping up. I'm like, now I'm like, how do you know so many people? Now we're gonna have to figure out what your body count is. So to me, again, it's not the
Yeah.
number that's scary. It's the, you know, your past creeps up on you. And then again, like for women in specifics, women don't sleep with people outside of their zip code. Nobody has long distance hookups. So the chances of you meeting the love of your life and him introducing you to his brother, his uncle, his dad, and them all knowing you for some strange ass reason, that's a problem. That is a problem. Because now he's going to be, oh, okay, I thought she was wifey material, but turns out everyone knows how she looks like outside of everything. So I think,
One of the
go ahead.
One of the worst things for me was whenever I had dated one of these beautiful women, and we go to a bar, and like every other guy would come, "Hey, hi, how's it going?" I'm like, "How many guys are you doing here?"
Yes.
And in back of my mind, I'm like, "Okay, this is a problem." I mean, and I didn't find it as like I was insecure about it. It just bothered me that so many guys came
Yeah.
up because 9 times out of 10, I've had a lot of female friends in the past, and they'll say, "Oh, he's just a friend." I'm like, "But did you sleep with him?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like,
See?
Don't tell that guy you're dating. Don't tell that guy you're dating.
Those are the scenarios, and I'll play it out in numerous ways, like metaphors, and like for some reason women don't understand metaphors on TikTok, and I'm like, are you guys like dense? Are you really choosing not to understand
I love
this?
metaphors.
I love metaphors. I'm not smart, so I need metaphors. I need analogies and stuff like that. Like they Google these big old philosophy words just to attack me, and I'm like, okay, dude, I didn't go to college, so you're not doing much for me right now. Everything, you're turning me off because you're trying so hard to sound smart.
You and I are so alike. When they come with these like misogynistic, what's it called? Oh God, these collegiate terms. And like, what does that mean? I have to Google it.
Yeah. No, I tell you, they have a dictionary and they Google it and then they just read it to attack you. And I'm like, okay, define it without the dictionary. For you. They start malfunctioning, and I'm like, all right, like we don't need to talk anymore. I'm like, okay, if you bought a one like edition something and like somebody else had it, would be highly offended as everybody else had it. I think it's just like, it's safe to say, like, would you rather the people around you say, oh my God, who is that? Or would you rather someone say, oh my God, you're with her? Wow, good luck, buddy. Like nobody wants to hear
Yeah.
that fucking reaction.
Wow.
Like be real, be fucking real. And like a lot of these girls that I talk to are like, well, you know, it's not really that big of a deal. Like, I mean, the partners that I choose don't care about that. Okay, then where are they? Why don't you have a ring on your finger? Well, I mean, like, things are difficult. I'm like, oh my God, the scenarios, funny. So it's just, I don't think people want to hear the truth at the end of the day. They really don't.
Yeah, and that's I can speak for myself that I didn't want to hear that either. It took a while for me to actually look in the mirror and face that truth for me because not to kind of bring up the whole marriage thing, but I wasn't the best husband, and I learned a lot from my mistakes, and that's kind of like how I got a presence on TikTok. But I didn't want to face the truth.
Right.
I did not, and I think that's hard for younger adults, especially. You know, here I am in late 30s, didn't want to face it, but for younger adults, I can imagine it's even that much more difficult. One other thing you touched on is another thing that shocked me when I started dating again. I found that there's a lot of people who simply are out there dating and they shouldn't be dating. There's a lot of people who just don't want to be alone and are just hooking up for random reasons. And that shocked me that nobody was comfortable being alone. Like I just got divorced. I was fine. I was like enjoying my life and doing everything on my own, and being alone was fine. I
Right.
loved it. But there's a lot of people who cannot be alone, and
Yes.
psychologically they're damaged. They should go to therapy, figuring themselves out because they're still hurt by that one guy or girl,
Yes.
and they're dating all these men and women as distractions. And I'm like, this is a mess.
Yeah.
This is horrible. But yeah, people are out there who are dating that shouldn't be dating.
Agreed. I think like if we're talking about men and women again, men who are alone have no choice but to cope with being alone. You know, they start, and now I understand why men are alcoholics, why they're gambaholics, why they like sports, they like video games, because they cope with
Yeah.
those. And they bond with their guy friends who talk about ass and stuff like that. So it makes them like, oh, I can live vicariously through my friends, or I can hang out with someone. So maybe like men actually have to deal with being alone, as opposed to women. Like if they do feel alone, girls' night out. You feel alone, post a photo. You know, you'll get some sort of, again, dopamine hit that someone's going to like your photo, give you some sort of like short thrill attention kick that's going to make you feel validated again. So I think like because of that,
For
I
a
hate.
moment, though. For a brief moment.
Very brief, but again, this culture, something is better than nothing. And like, I'm a patient motherfucker. I'm willing to sit and wait for a golden ticket. I don't care. Like, I've always been alone. Like, I left home at 14, so for me, I've always had it. Even when I was around people, mentally, I've always been like alone. So those were the best, worst years, and I'm very thankful for those years. I don't regret them at all. And I at one point it turned very like I think I've experienced how it feels like to be a hardcore feminist and also to be who I am now, to recognize you want to know everything but not abuse everything. And for me, I needed to be alone and also not use it as like a leverage with my boyfriend. He was like, you know, like that's not my fault. You know, like my ex-boyfriend that cheated on me, I learned so much from him, and I don't hate him for it, anything. I'm not mad at him at all, and people hate me till today for it because it's like, how could you not? I learned a lot, you know, like because of him, I have a great relationship now. So if anything, thank you, you know, and not saying that in a condescending way. Like I was stuck with him after I found out he cheated on me. Like I didn't have a car, COVID happened, my family pretty much abandoned me again. So for me, I was stuck with him. I had to cope with a lot of things. I was like, okay, where did I go wrong? Let's talk this through. We have to live with each other. Let's just figure this shit out. You know, I don't have any other avenue. So I think being to deal with the force that you don't want to deal with, instead of running away, running to the internet, crying, posting you all this stuff, people have so many short circuits to basically make them feel alive. Not really alive, but just enough to make them feel like they're wanted and seen. That's the problem. That's why people date. Instead of being alone. You know, being alone, you get to work on yourself. And I don't mean like being celibate. I mean like really work on yourself. You know, being okay, because no partner wants to get with you and feel like you're depending on them for everything. Codependency, that shit is annoying. I want to be with you, but I want to know you could leave me, and I want to know I can leave you. And that's in a non-toxic way. Like I don't want to feel like you need me to that extent, and vice versa. And I think like that right there is just something that they cannot wrap their head around. So they're like, why? That sounds like, you know, like your independence is ripped away. And I'm like, what? Are you serious?
What are you talking about? Yeah. I once dated this woman, and she asked me, are you an A or an H person? And I'm like, what are you talking about?
I don't even know what that is.
And she goes, well, there's two different types of people out there. Check this out. I can give you a visual.
Okay.
She goes, there's the A people who cannot survive without each other. They need each other to function. If one leaves, one just falls apart. Then there's the H people who have wonderful lives. They have their shit together. They're happy. And they meet, and they make their lives even much more better, but they'll survive if it doesn't work out. And I'm like, oh, well, then I guess I'm an H person. She goes, thank God, because there's so many A's out there. Like, they're desperate for a relationship. They're desperate to be with somebody. And they just really come on too strong. I'm like, no, I love my life, you know, so we're good. So you know, I think that's what you're implying with the visual.
Yes, I think the important key in that is to be independent, but to also, like, I fake it in a lot of ways. Like, people laugh at me because I know, my boyfriend knows I'm very emotionally independent and financially independent, but I choose to be pathetic for him because he knows that it's not like, it's, and I notice that he loves it, and it's not an insecure way, but at the end of the day, like, if you know, like, you have the privilege to walk away, like, why hold that over someone's head? Like, someone in my comment section was like saying, I'm independent and free, I don't need no man. No guy who wants to court you wants to hear shit like that. And realistic, like, if you say something, he's gonna be like, okay, well then,
huge turn off. Pay
for your own fucking meal then. Open your own goddamn door. Buy your own flowers. Buy your own birthday gifts. Do whatever the hell by yourself. Cook your own meal. Make your own breakfast because you're so independent. I think, like, the joy in being in a healthy relationship for me in specifics, I like knowing that we don't need each other, but we choose to be pathetic for each other. We are truly pathetic people for each other. You know, at the end of the day, like, people look at us and they're just like, oh, what, you guys are like very independent, da da da. But at the end of the day, like, I like do like, I don't know, like I'm symbolically like a child next to him. But I think there's like many roles to play in a relationship other than just being a masculine woman or being independent. I think there's times to be cute. There's times to be sexy, intimate. There's time to be strong and all the above. And I think like women are so fixated on just one role. That's the problem. Like if we drive, I do the GPS because he's like, you got to drive and figure out GPS. This shit is annoying. You know, like you got to be a good partner for them. You got to learn how to be not pathetic sometimes. And I don't know. It's priceless to engage into those things.
No, and just to kind of piggyback off what you said, I don't hate any of my exes, and my last ex cheated on me, right, with her ex, and I don't hate her. I could have left that relationship hating women,
right?
But if I stood back and looked at myself, I ignored a ton of red flags because she had a booty.
That happens.
Because I was an idiot, so I ignored, and I think a lot of people do that we make exceptions for what we want and ignore what is obvious there. So I didn't hate her, but she taught me a lot. And my girlfriend now, we've been together 3 years. We're expecting a baby.
Nice.
She
is the first. I know, having a baby at 45, I'm going to be an old dad. My daughter's in college. My son is 16 in a rock band. And here I am starting all over again. But it's
your life.
wonderful. You know what? Because I was, and it's her first. It's her first.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to enjoy it this time. I'm going to enjoy it this time because I was so worried when I was younger about being a dad. Am I doing it right? What about money? Now that I've been there, done that, I'm really going to enjoy this. I'm excited. But anyway, my girlfriend is the first healthy relationship I've ever had in my life, and that includes friends, family, and romantic. And everything you've just said that you give to your boyfriend, she does with me. She's feminine, she's inspiring, she's nurturing, she's beautiful and loving. And I just love that about her. She is the most feminine woman I've ever been around. And when a feminine woman's near a man, oh my God, it just makes me just want to go conquer the world.
Right?
For her. She's just so
like Hercules.
She inspires me. I know, like, come here, like, let me give you my seed, all this.
I feel bad if she watches this. She's gonna be like, I do have your seed.
Oh, she watches them all. She's gonna laugh when she hears that.
This is hilarious.
But my point is to kind of tether back to what you said. Why do you think women are not listening to men and, hey, that's what we want, but why do you think they're so like, I'm independent, I'm a boss bitch, I don't need a man? Where's that stemming from?
Broken homes.
From a young woman's point of view.
Broken homes.
Broken homes?
Yeah, for sure. I think broken homes, and then between broken homes and the competing with men. Wanting the power that men have instead of learning how to submit and work with them. Like we do, I think women do hold the keys in many ways in relationships, but you have to learn how to use your key also. I think that women try to emulate what men have and what they have to offer, and they don't realize, like, I believe in like the yin and yang. Like I'm the yin, he's the yang, vice versa. Like we are not exactly the same, but we do fit like a puzzle. And I offer him things that he can't, vice versa. If you try to compete, like if there's two masculine people in a relationship, who's nurturing? Who's going to be the person that's empathetic? Who's doing all that? Because the person that is like my boyfriend, what he does is way more high stress. He's more like he's annoying by the time I deal with him. But to be fair, you have to look at the bigger picture. Women forget to look at the bigger picture. Like I understand, like he's doing this for our future. He knows that one day I want to have a kid and all this stuff. He's doing this to create this lifestyle that we want to live. So it's like, who am I to get mad at him because his boss was annoying or the clients were annoying, stuff like that. So it's like, it's up to me to understand, okay, what would make this better? Food, sex, like what is it? I only have a couple things out there to make him happy. Let's just do it. And because our relationship is healthy.
That's so awesome.
You know what I mean? Thank you. And because it's such a healthy relationship, like I don't feel like I'm doing it because it's gonna be like a ticket in my lifetime. It's just because I know like this will he'll be happy, and you can see it changes. It works. Like I'm a critical thinker, and I think the hardest thing for women is they're not critical thinkers. They're not wired to be problem solvers. We're taught to tell somebody when we don't feel safe in a room. We're taught to snitch if anything happens, or to just cry on the internet. Like that's what we're taught. We're not taught to fix anything. And like. For me, I was raised partially like by my uncle, and he was really hard on me. He treated me like a boy. He didn't give a fuck, and like that is one of the best worst things because like if something doesn't work, I learned how to fix it. I stopped taping everything. I learned how to get a fucking screwdriver. Like shit like that where it's important for women to know how to do these things. And like he laughs. Like thank you. Like he laughs at me because he knows like oh, nice try sometimes. Like that's cute that you used the wrong nail, but at least you tried. And I think like sometimes something
Yeah.
as simple as an effort means a lot more than me just like sitting on the couch like, hey, the garbage disposal is clogged. When in reality, it's just the fucking switch in the bottom of the thing when it gets like jammed or something. It's like little things like that like we don't realize. We make things very complicated. Meanwhile, we want him to be the provider. We want him to be the savior. We want him to be the main source of happiness for us. And the things that we have to do are effortless. It's really just emotional. Like it's already in tune with women to be nurturing, to be loved, to submit to a man. And I'm like, and they throw this idea like it's derogative to be submissive. Why? Why is that so bad? I don't want to
Yeah.
be masculine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's unfortunate. So I think that women are trying to compete with men, and it's just fucking up the entire dating system and the nature of it, because they think they have to create this instead of learning how to chessboard their way with men. Like I believe in just figuring men out
Yeah.
and puzzling it, but don't give it to the wrong guy. Women would do all the right things for the wrong guy and then use it as an anecdotal reason why it doesn't work out. I'm like, dude, because it was for the wrong guy. Like you're not being real with yourself. So there's
Yeah.
so many layers to women's problems. This is why I attack it on TikTok, because if you break it down, it's like between being in denial, it's not seeing self-awareness, it's not lack of critical thinking. It's just so many bullshit on top of bullshit. Like it's a never-ending like game with women. So it's like it's hard for us to get
Yeah.
down to the problem, you know?
Yeah, and just like you said at the beginning, it stems from a broken home. So I guess I can understand that. Like the first man any woman encounters or sees as a role model or an example is her father, and if the father's not there, I can see maybe that missing piece of that role model, and then that hatred of him not being there. I can kind of see where that generates from, or the origin of that, and that makes complete sense.
For sure.
Another thing, another thing I want to touch on. You said women control everything, and in a sense, let me kind of clarify that. Like I said, the one thing I noticed when I started dating at 39 was how sexually aggressive women were, and I was fine with it because again, I was married 16 years. Hey, I'm gonna have fun. I'm just
Right.
gonna go do my thing. But women controlled how men behave. So if women all of a sudden said, you know what, I'm not going to post these photos, I'm not going to sleep within the first date, I'm
Yes.
going to have standards and be morally, sound, men would change in a heartbeat.
Of course.
Because we want ultimately to get with you, but
Yes.
if the gatekeepers change that process, we would adapt right away. And right now, as a man, and that was single, it's too easy.
Oh yeah.
One, dating apps, it was just, at one point I was dating 7 women at a time. And they all knew they all knew they were part of a roster, and it was fine.
You
They were
were a
like, "My God, it's so fucking
stud.
easy. I
That's
feel
how you know you're a real stud, when they all know
had my
about each
fun.
other. They all knew about each other.
Yeah, I'm like, and it's like I was up front, like, I don't want anything serious. I told you that, and they're like, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say anything. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But I did that, but I just found it was so easy to hook up, and I think if things changed, which I don't think they are, but if they did, we would see a paradigm shift. We
For
would
sure.
see men totally adapt to what you women wanted. Like in the 90s, you're 28, right? So you're born what 98?
4.
95, something like that. 94. Oh God, I graduated high school in 94. Anyway, but back in the day, you had to dress up nice. You had to have game. You needed to know how to dance. You needed to have a car, and go up to a woman, say
course.
hi to her, buy her a drink, dance with her, get her number,
Right.
then call her a week later. But there was like a long processing, like a courtship, and then possibly you'll hook up. But nowadays, you can hook up the same night.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's lazy.
So-
and I think if it was more effort involved in the whole process, men would totally change.
I agree. Since you said you dated 7 girls at one time, basically, would you say
Yeah.
that women have lower standards than men?
In
Generally.
what regard?
In all right, would you ever see yourself dating a girl that had 7 boyfriends at one time, and you were like okay with being a roster with 7 other guys, just raw dogging? Would you be okay with that?
At the time I didn't give a damn because like I said, I was just out there having fun. I wasn't looking for anything serious. But with the women with the 7, the standards, well, here's the thing. I was very blunt and upfront with women. I have no game. I can't be smooth and do all
That's
those
a
things.
game to be that
I just
blunt.
was
Are you
very
kidding
bluntly
me?
honest.
That's a game to be blunt.
Well, you go through divorce and go through the most horrible events of your life and come back and live through it. woman telling me no at the bar ain't gonna do shit to me. I've been through the worst part of my life, so come on, that ain't gonna do anything. So I would tell them, look, hey, I'd like to take you out. I want to have a good time with you, but I'm not looking for anything serious. And a lot of them got upset that I was honest. But then they would say, you know what, I'm mad at you, but I respect you for being honest and not leading me on.
Right.
But they still slept with me.
Right.
And they knew that I was just.
But eventually,
having a good time.
they wanted more with
I was
you.
Divorced. Yes.
See, okay, if we
Yeah.
reverse the roles, you would accept the agreement, but you wouldn't want more because you knew that this was just for fun. In reality, don't you think?
Yeah, I would program myself.
You're right. You would
Yeah,
you would like.
I would program myself, but
Generally, I don't think men would change
But-
their stripes. And like, you know what? I could probably see a future with her. Me and the 7 other guys that she was like kind of having fun with. Like, this is not realistic. Like, I don't think that people understand. Like, sure, it's subjective to a lot of people.
you know what? I don't want to lie. Let me be honest. Let me
Okay.
be honest. Let me be honest here. There were a couple women that I don't like kissing. I mean, again, I learned how to have sex while I was married.
Mm-hmm.
I got married at 21, right? So I didn't know anything, right? So the only way I knew how to have sex was to make love.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went into the dating world, that's the only way I knew how to kiss and do it that way. And a lot of them would freak out, and a lot of them fell in love with me because they say, you're just treating me different. I'm like, oh, what do you mean? They're like, oh, I'm not pulling your hair and spanking you and spitting in your mouth. Like, what? You know, all these things. That's what they were used to. So I was doing it a different way, but I didn't know that. It was completely by accident. And that's how they grew feelings with me, because I was kissing them and having sex a certain way, not just what they see on television.
Wow. That's crazy.
Being honest. But feelings do generate, especially when there's the chemistry and the camaraderie, the humor's all there, and you're just laughing and you're enjoying that person, then you have sex and then you're kissing.
I agree.
I develop feelings for a few people, 2, I think. And that's when I knew, like, okay, I can't be doing this. You know, it gets really complicated and muddy after a while. It's fun for a while, but there are consequences to it.
I agree.
At the very end.
Okay. All right, that's rare. Most people don't want to admit that. Most people are stronghold on they're just, it's a one-way thing. And I'm generally with women, like I've watched them say like, oh, I can just have sex with him. But I've like, if you don't have sex with him only, you're Netflixing and chilling, you're going out to dinner with him. Those are bonding moments that create like this little memory in your head of like, you know what, maybe I want to be with him. You know, maybe this isn't so bad. Your standard starts getting lower and lower, and you start accepting certain things. And that's why I tell girls, like, I don't think people actually know how to hook up. Like, nobody really hooks up. Everyone's just really like engaging into somewhat what they think is like a down payment towards a relationship, and then it just goes south from there. So
Yeah. And you know, honestly, the only women that I knew of who could shut off their emotions were married women with their Sanchos or with their boyfriends.
yes.
Because they knew, hey, this is physical. This is all I need.
Yeah.
No feelings.
Yes.
And not that I had slept with married women, but I knew guys who slept with married
Yeah,
women.
for
And
sure.
there's plenty of them that want to hook up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
they're
bad.
I guess they can't shut their feelings down. It's really bad.
Well,
It's
the
really
married
bad.
one in
I
specifics.
was really shocked to see how many women just.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The married ones really blow my mind because it goes back to what I say, like when women spend their 20s just kind of pouncing around the zip code having fun, and at the end of the day, the guy.
Hold on, Angela. It got really scrambled. I didn't hear anything, so go ahead and start that sentence again.
Are we good again?
I'll edit that part.
Are we good
No,
again?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
For the
No, you're here. You're here now. Go ahead.
Okay, for married women, it really disappoints me. So they spend their 20s in the hookup culture, engaging into whatever the hell they think is supposed to be beneficial long term, and then they get married to the nice guy that it wasn't their first option. That's the shitty part. So the guy who marries her ends up paying for it. Thinking like, oh my god, I landed the girl that didn't want me before, and now she wants me because I spent my youth creating an empire. But there's no sexual chemistry there. That's why these women cheat on their men, because it's like, I like the fact that he has security, but he's not my first option. And like, that's so fucked up on so many levels, because these nice guys who I say simps and cucks are ruining it, because like you know damn well that there's no sexual chemistry, but you're so fixated on having a trophy. We lost each other again?
Yes. I'm sorry. You cut out in the middle. Yeah, I lost it again. And now your video's gone.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry.
Damn it.
I'm so sorry. It was a good one, too.
It's okay. I know. You know what? It's just audio. Let's just keep going. So go ahead and repeat that answer. I'm so sorry.
No.
If
It's
you're
okay.
with
No,
that.
I'm no problem repeating it. For me, it's just like it sucks because like the simps and the cucks, those are the ones that are ruining. Also, they're contributing to the dating market because they're getting with women they know don't want anything to do with them, but they're so fixated on having a trophy and someone to live the rest of their life with, the pretty girl that they never got.
Yeah.
That they're setting this standard in women's mind, like,
Yes.
oh, at least somebody wants me, but it's not real. At the end of the day, you're cheating on him because you want that sexual fire chemistry with this guy because you didn't want to put any effort into one person and invest your time with him. You're fixated on the simple investment. Someone's gonna wife me up. Somebody will. Of course, somebody will. Who's gonna turn down food? Nobody turns down food. But at the end of the day, it's not your first option. We all know what you want, so that's why they go behind. They're easy to just. This is where they learn how to compartmentalize. Survival mode makes women compartmentalize the most. That's the only time they truly tap into that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And your video's back.
Oh.
And now you're back. Great. Awesome.
Oh, I feel so
That's
bad. The audios, the visuals.
You know what? And again, let me just kind of like reiterate here. Like, even if the video goes down, it's still recording on your end. So when I download it, it's gonna look fine.
Okay, cool, perfect.
It's just the audio that may be a little scrambled, so you have to repeat answers. and all
Okay,
that. But,
cool.
Well, let me ask you this: You're 28. You've never been married, right?
No.
No. Okay. Do you plan on getting married?
Yeah. I think maybe.
Okay. Okay. Do you?
Sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We're in a lag. We're stuck in a Milky Way or something. I'm 28. I just turned 28. So I mean, I would say within the next 2 years or so. I think it's pretty reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's good. 28 is a good age. It's
Yeah.
better than 21 or 24. I think you sound like a confident woman. You know who you are and what you want, and that's what a lot of people don't have as a young adult. So let's kind of turn the tables here. Let's just have some fun. And if this doesn't work, I'll cut it out. I was obviously married. I knew a lot of married people. What questions do you have about marriage that maybe I can help you with? Anything at all?
This is a tough question because I did watch your video on YouTube about why you cheated, and I was trying to find reasons to
Good, thank
disagree
you.
with you, and it was hard to not. I couldn't find anything to disagree because I understand 1,000%. So it sucks because like I've watched so many scenarios of this, so it's hard for me to have a question in that department. It was more so like my hats off to you, honestly, because I think you were being so transparent about it. I know this is a question I'm supposed to have for you, but there's really no question because it's like I would have to say, as far as marriage,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know at this point. For me, I've just noticed with men, I feel like I understand men more than boys understand men at this point. And it's like, you're actually my uncle's age. You're 45, right?
Yeah, 45.
Yeah, you guys are like similar like personality, and it's almost like I feel like I'm talking to my uncle right now, which is so funny because
We're both cool and charismatic and charming guys.
yeah,
Right? Just kidding.
no, but like seriously, he's a complete man whore. No offense, and
I'm retired man whore, by the way.
yeah. He was a little yellow man whore, but he, had a shitty marriage with my aunt also, and I watched that crumble, and I also watched infidelity, and I also watched why it happened on both ends. So when I watched your video, it definitely made a lot of sense what you were explaining, like everything you tried to keep the relationship alive, and all the things you like. Women don't see that side of men that you guys actually do try to keep shit together, and sometimes you're just desperate, and like sex is the one thing that keeps a man going. Like it keeps the day going, it keeps you from not just giving up, and like women don't understand that. So it's hard for me to have a question because it's like, dude, you kind of have it all together, like in that sense, like mentally your life is doing great. You got a baby on the way, you got a girlfriend you love, like you figured it out. You broke out of the matrix in that sense. Like you're doing good.
Thank you. And you know what? I owe it to a couple things because when I did get divorced, everybody abandoned me. All my lifelong friends, everybody abandoned me. When they say no one gives a shit about a man's feelings, it's true. I went through it myself. I was by myself. My family was upset because I was Hispanic and marriage is an abomination.
Yes.
I mean, divorce is an abomination.
Yes.
And I was by myself for about a good year. And then I just started dating and doing my thing, but I had no friends to support, but I survived it. I went through it, but my kids kept me alive.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for some men out there who don't have kids, and that's probably why they fall at the end of the bottle and follow a destructive path.
Yes.
I can see that happening because there's just nothing else.
There's nothing
It's a
to
very
live for.
lonely, there's nothing to live for, and everybody hates you because your ex-wife probably painted you as this
villain,
son of a bitch with a small dick, villain, whatever. When it's all, and usually men are very quiet about it, but it's a very lonely existence. But surviving that and being a role model for my kids and coming out at the end and taking accountability, because like I said, I wasn't the greatest husband either. There's a lot I leave out, but I wasn't the greatest husband.
Yeah.
And just owning up to that and just saying, yeah, I was an asshole and I should have done things a whole lot differently, and learning from my mistakes and not blaming anybody. Because I know a lot of men are heartbroken after divorce. She left me for another man and all that. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. But a woman doesn't just leave. There's a lot of things that have been happening years in advance. Like, what happened? Re-examine that. You can have the hate, that's normal, that's justified, but take some accountability as well. What went wrong?
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people that choose not to look inward and say, no, I was a perfect husband.
Yeah.
Like, were you? Think about it.
Yeah.
There's always, no matter how bad a situation is, no matter how horrible it is, there's always something positive you can take out of it and learn from. And learning from my mistakes and learning what I can survive and what life can throw at me, and I'm still fucking here. I appreciate life.
Yeah.
I appreciate the small things, like talking to you, having a wonderful girlfriend who, like, when we go outside and walking in, where she gets her arms and wraps them around me, like, wow, this is nice. This is fucking cool. It's the small things that matter. And I guess if I'm going to give you any advice for marriage, like, it's the small things that matter.
Agree.
Sex is great, but you know what? After a while, it kind of like is not as important anymore. It's still there, but it's not as important. It's how you treat each other, the respect. Once you lose respect for your husband or wife, it's done.
Yeah, I agree.
It's done. But as long as you hold each other as the high standards and what matters most, kids and then your husband, I mean, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. I mean, marriage is not a horrible thing, and I don't like how men have been painting, there's no benefit in marriage. We'll lose everything if we get divorced. 80% of women file for divorce. I'm like, well, maybe 80% of y'all weren't worth the shit. Maybe 40% of y'all weren't worth the shit.
Yeah.
Of the husband, maybe re-examine that. I don't know, but marriage is a beautiful thing, and I think you're going to be all right. I have a feeling you're going to be all right, because you're so well-grounded and well-rounded person, and you sound like you have a wonderful boyfriend. You have a wonderful foundation that most people don't have.
Yeah.
And I really respect
I
that.
think I think it's important people to understand, like, a lot of my friends who look into it, they'll say the same thing, and I'm like, this shit is actual work. I have to say, like, maybe it's not financial work, like, on his end. Like, I don't create as much money as he does, but at the end of the day, what I bring, I've definitely noticed, he told me, it's something that you can't buy. He's like, you can't buy something this genuine. And
Yes.
you can get a maid, you can get a cook, you can get, a hooker, but you can't buy this bond.
Mm-hmm.
There's a different type of bond that people are so far out in touch with reality at this point. They don't realize that this is what you're really looking for. And if you do find it in the wrong person, then now you have the method all scrambled up. Like, it's just, you can't win with people. And I think it's important for people to realize, like, this is nice, but I also appreciate 10 times more because I watch this all kind of melt together and me change my ways and watch him change his ways by choice.
Mm-hmm.
There's no force. And, like, listening to you talk also, I don't have questions for you. It's more so like an observant, and also, like, my hat's off to you. I think it's almost like unfair for when you have such like an accomplished and almost nobody asks you and you have to ask everyone else. And it's almost like, can someone ask me these questions sometimes? And it's like so I'm going to just sit here and say, like, dude, go off. Because at the end of the day, I think it's great that you did live, through a marriage and divorce. And now you're doing it again, but in such an enlightening and light like view. You're not negative about it. You're also not, like, completely scorned from it. And I respect you for that, because it's like you're contributing back into, and you're paying it forward. Also, like, it's her first child, and honestly, like, you were so smitten earlier, you didn't realize the camera was on. You were like, okay, I'm gonna be da-da-da, and I was like, oh, see, like, this is a healthy relationship. I was like,
Really?
Yeah, it's very healthy. Like, other women would see that and, like, blush, when they see that, oh wow, a guy who's actually okay with being vulnerable for his girlfriend, as opposed to thinking he has to be macho all the time. And it goes back to you saying that people think marriage isn't shit. And I think that people get into relationships and they're so fixated on, well, what if he leaves? I don't look at relationships that way. Like, you don't give a kid candy or ice cream and they're going to be like, are you going to hit me afterwards? They just enjoy it for the moment it is. Be genuine, be a good person. And I think the results will pay out, especially if you follow your intuitions and be aware of your surrounding. And I can tell that you're very aware of it more than ever. And you're not judgmental, but you're very aware of everything, which is very refreshing. Like, it's even great for your girlfriend, good for the new baby it's coming, good for your kids, because, like, that's the environment that you created for them. You know, and a lot of people don't realize like it's somebody has to
Yeah.
be the leader to create that, and like you're creating that for the people around you that you love, and that's so important because they take that and they go into this world with that foundation, and that's like the key to putting back into the universe that people aren't doing. They're just thinking like fuck marriage, fuck
Yes.
kids. You know, like a year ago I said screw kids, screw marriage because I was so close-minded. And I decided to tap into like maybe I'm just being selfish. And I am being selfish because I don't want to learn people. I didn't want to learn men. I didn't want to learn myself. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
It starts from you.
Well, yeah, and you know what? I don't think it's selfish. I think it's more protective because we've all been hurt. We've all kind of been vulnerable with that one person and were betrayed, and we were all hurt at one point. So we're very locked down and protective with who we allow in our hearts. So it's okay to be that way. And I was always saying, you know, for like you look at my first videos, I'm never gonna get married. I'm never gonna have kids. Screw kids. I hate kids.
Yeah.
You know, I was always like that, but. You know, life changes, and sometimes you do meet a right person or something wonderful happens to you, and you just see the world differently. And like I said, there's nothing more humbling than losing everything and getting it all back.
Yeah.
You're so humble, and you appreciate the small things, and that's what matters. That's what matters in life. And I wish a lot of young women and men understand that. I see a lot of guys talking about making money and all this stuff, and that's great and all, but you know, don't forget to call your mom and dad. You know, don't forget to, you know, have a beer with a friend. You know, it's the small moments in life that matter in the end, not the money and stuff. So
Yeah. No,
I think on
agree
that note,
with
we
that.
should. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. No, I agree with that.
I
I
think-
think it's just it sucks because people don't realize like for men, that's almost too much intellect for them to actually take all that in. And for me, like they need a direction somewhere, and that's why I tell people like for guys, go fix your diet, financially working. Like once you get that, then we can
Yes.
probably find some sort of like. But if you have a good heart and you go into the world with no foundation, you don't look good, you don't have finances, you're not going to be happy. I think it's easier for guys to kind of focus on that and then
Yeah.
find purpose after that. And I think like I baby them in that sense where I'm like, let's just keep it short. Let's keep it short and simple. Fix your diet, get some money, and then we'll go from there. But I can't tell you to have an open heart and be vulnerable for the world and not have, you know, the results you want. You're going to be broken again. You're like, well, you sold me a lie. You sold me a lie. It's terrible. So it's the shitty
Yeah.
part. You can't fix
Yeah.
anyone to that extent.
No, they got to fix themselves. I mean, and there's some people that reach out to me for advice, and I give it to them, and they come back 6 months later with the same problem. Like, I'm not going to help you again. I already gave you good advice, and if you're not going to implement what I told you,
Yeah.
then no. But yeah, and you're good on time, right? We don't have to cut right
No,
now.
no, we're good.
I mean,
We're good. We're
are
good.
you good? Okay. You mentioned vulnerability, and I want to talk about that because there's this preconception that men have you can't be vulnerable with a woman, and to an extent, I agree with them because some of the toxic IG models that I dated, this one happened in 2018. My dad had a heart attack, and this was on a Friday, but he was at the hospital. I went and visited him. I came back, and I was just out of it. And the girl I was dating says, "Hey, what are we gonna do tonight?" I'm like, "Babe, my dad just had a heart attack. You know, I don't want to go out. I'm just out of it. Just come over
Yeah.
and just hug me. Your man needs his woman right now. Come over here and hug me right now. That's what I need." She goes, "No, I've had a hard ass week at work. Don't be selfish about that. What about me? I'm gonna go out with my friends. I'll come over later. I'll be there about 2:00." And I'm like, "Okay, you selfish bitch." I didn't tell her that.
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's how people can be.
Of
Yeah,
course.
she's beautiful. We look great in photos. She looks great naked, but when it comes down to the moments in life when you need somebody,
Yeah.
that's what matters. And she wasn't there.
So
And where was I going with this? Being
Vulnerability,
vulnerable.
yes,
Being vulnerable.
yes.
Okay. You can. I feel you can be vulnerable with a woman once you've gotten to know her, but not up front. You can't be upfront and vulnerable with a woman and just be like the victim. I mean, you have to have a plan. Like for me, it
course.
took a while for me to be kind of like vulnerable with my girlfriend now. But even when I am, I have a plan behind it.
right.
I'm not like running around like a victim. I'm like, "Oh, babe, this happened. You know what? But this is what I'm gonna do. What do you think? That
Yeah.
sounds right, right?" And just kind of collaborate with her. But being vulnerable is okay. You can cry in front of somebody that you've been with for a while, but right away, I wouldn't recommend it. What are your thoughts on that?
I think for men, again, it goes back to them having to earn everything that they a privilege in life. That's something they have to earn in a relationship, which sucks. It's not
Yes.
fair. Women are openly just vulnerable, and men are just, I don't know, again, critical thinkers. Like, oh my God, she needs help. I'm gonna save her. I want to help her. For men, unfortunately, they have to prove to women that they can be a provider, a savior, the man of the household, for him to be vulnerable. Because at that point, if he's checked off literally 9 out of 10 things, she's gonna want to know, like, okay, like, is this man human? Which is, again, this is why I say my hat's off to men who actually do the work and like ignorance is bliss. Some of them just do it just because they accept that this is just part of it. They accept that this is what comes with wanting a woman in life. Because then they like, I think things go back to like, the Bible. Like Adam wanted Eve. He got fucking bored and lonely. He asked God for a companion. Like that's how it works. Like no guy wants to be alone entirely. So I think that men have accepted that, and that's what people get mad at the red pill. I'm not a hardcore red pill person because I think it's too extreme. But I do understand why men choose to go that dark route, because it's just kind of like, I've created such an empire. I couldn't explain to someone my darkest times. Your darkest times, you want to talk to somebody. By the time you created your entire status, that it's over with. The struggle's over with. Now you're here to reap what you fucking worked hard for. You're not gonna sit here and try to find one girl who's gonna understand for you when she wasn't there for you. And that's just realistic. I think a lot of people become very dark, and it's no one's fault. But like, a lot of people are just troubled nowadays. Like single homes, again, you have to work really hard to be something, and these girls are so unrealistic with their standards. They're causing men to basically be bitter, dark, and choosing to have multiple girlfriends. Like Andrew Tate, he's choosing to do this because like the shit that he had to eat chicken out of a dumpster for God knows how long with his brother. No girl was there at that time.
Yeah.
Like no one cared what he had to say. They made fun of him for being skinny and weird and all that stuff. Those things, like men remember those things. They hold on to those things, and they don't forget that. Like men, their loyalty is different than compared to women. And I'd have to say, like, I've watched that a lot happen with men, where it's not that they don't know how to love. They're just tired of giving it to the wrong person and then realizing it wasn't worth it. Like, if you give it to the wrong person, it's abused. Even if you meant well, it's abused. And same thing for women, it's abused. But it's like for men, they had to work for it. For women, it was already given. We're just here to love. For men, you want me to provide and to love? Like, what do you want me to do here? It's harder for men in that way. So again, vulnerability is, I think, is one of the worst things. It's one of my favorite weapons, honestly. I think it's a great weapon.
Okay.
I personally had to learn how to be vulnerable also, but I had to know when to use it. And I think that's me tapping into being a man. And I was able to use that because it was like women are always vulnerable. And I kept it at like a high stake. And then I realized when to use it. And then that's why I think my relationship works out so well, because we kind of like match each other's energy in that way. And it works out because he realizes like she's not crying wolf. She's being serious right now. It's a serious problem. He knows that if I went to him with something, I tried to solve it and I couldn't. And now I'm asking him, and vice versa. So I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I agree. It is a shame that, like I said, my girlfriend now was one of the first actually woman that I could be vulnerable with, because going back to me in my man whore days when I had 7 women on my roster, it's fun. Yeah, you make all the videos and you have all that fun, all that shit. Yeah, it's fun, but when they leave, you're alone.
Yeah.
And then when something bad happens in your life, you call them and they're out dating somebody else, or I'm not going to come over right now.
Yeah.
You're just a dick.
Yeah.
Or you're incredibly lonely.
Yes.
Or like the holidays come by, they're not calling because they're doing their own thing. That's when it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
And most guys who are listening right now will say, well, you're just a simp, whatever. Hey, I had my fun, but months and months and years of doing that, it gets old.
It does get old.
And you want more.
Yes.
And yeah, it does. And you want more. You want to connect with somebody and be vulnerable when things go bad. Or when you have that moment of celebration because you got that promotion.
Yeah.
They're not the ones to text or call because, that's just the Friday, Saturday hookups. So there's no vulnerability, and having someone special in your life like that does matter, because those are the moments you want to share with.
I think people don't want to understand that, because they're already deprived. Like if they're financially deprived, they're not going to care about someone being there emotionally. To them, it's like, I'm already hungry and you're talking to me about this, this, and this. I don't care. So that's the shitty part. Like, you're at a point where you seem like you're very, you've held it down pretty well. Like financially, you've lived and you've learned, you've healed. And a lot of people are still learning. They haven't even hurt yet because they're too busy holding up their guard. Yeah. They don't want to be vulnerable. So how can you learn if you haven't hurt to heal? So it's like, you're giving them like this method where they're going to be, oh, you're a simp, you're a cuck. No, you're not. You're a grown ass man who understands like, hey, people that have money, I have plenty of friends who are financially very well, and they're lonely, and they'll tell me like, bro, like, having Lamborghinis and shit when there's no girl next to you that you want to be there with. Like, there's not a girl who wants to just snap a photo because she's in your car. Like, but how can you tell somebody that when they themselves can't keep up with their car payment or haven't had an oil change forever? They don't fucking relate to you. They're like, okay, I can't even get a chick, so I don't know what you're talking about. You're simping. That's stupid. You know, those people are deprived from opportunities, so they can't see that. And I've come to terms like, maybe you should go work. That's why I keep it simple. Go to the gym, find a fucking career, buddy. Like, create your empire, and then
find your passion.
You know, and then you'll understand why the template is the same for everybody. And if you think you want to create your own template in life, you'll realize why the original template was there. It was there for a reason. And I think people don't want to accept that. So.
Yeah. And you know what? It's fine. I think women admire a man with a passion and drive because, like, again, one other attribute that helped me in the dating world was I had a YouTube channel. Like, if you didn't know, I do movie reviews. I've been doing movie reviews for like 6 years on YouTube, and then I went on TikTok and shared a dating story. Then TikTok took off, right? So it's two different platforms.
Okay.
Two complete, hence all the movie posters in the back. But I had plans. I was on the local news. I was at Comic-Cons interviewing celebrities. I was always hustling and meeting people, right?
Right.
And women admired that. They admired that I wasn't texting them all the time. Where are you at? What are you doing? They saw that I was out there, not saying what I wanted to do, but out there doing it.
Right.
And having the evidence. And I found that a lot of women admire that. So when I tell men find a passion because women admire a man with drive, well, what am I going to do? I'm like, well, I can't tell you that. You have to find it on your own.
Yes.
And I think that's what a lot of men kind of don't understand sometimes. And they think, like movies, there's movies that I'm doing here that was fun and that really helped me, but then there's like Andrew Tate, and I think they see Andrew Tate and come on, how many of us are actually going to be Andrew Tate?
No.
Probably 0.001% of us, right? That's one of a kind, and I applaud his success, right? I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but I applaud him. But I think they see that as the goal, and that's just unrealistic. That's like a guy who's overweight and wants to lift weights and look like Schwarzenegger. No. That's not going to happen, dude.
No. I mean,
kind of go within your means.
Yes, it's one extreme or the other. Again, it goes back to people not being realistic with themselves. I think, again, you should shoot to want more in life, but Tate is very extreme about it.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that, I don't know, like, it just really depends on each person in that sense. For example, I've said it many times, like, a girl can admire a guy being too busy for her, as opposed to men are not okay with women being too busy for them. Like, I just think that we're not the same. And like, women admire a guy who has like something that he's working, forward for the future, which basically puts women in a position where she's slightly oppressed, where she feels like she has to be submissive to him. But I just think that we're designed to be that way. At the end of the day, it's like, if we're so fixated on chasing what he's chasing, we're not going to have a partner. We're not going to be happy with two people trying to be an empire. So at the end of the day, I think it's important that women understand, like, we were meant to kind of like just be a partner. Like, and it's okay. Like, I don't want to make, like, I know a lot of people are in their 30s and 40s, women who strive to be, the best in their department, and then found out, like, I just want to be a mom. I just want to be a wife. I don't want to work this hard at home and
There's
at work.
nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that at all, because he's doing all that shit so he can retire to be with you. So why are we not on the same goal here? So, it's just unfortunate people don't see it that way. I think, like, people don't think 5 or 10 steps ahead, and they're fixated on the now. They make decisions for how they feel right now, and it affects their future. And like, I don't have the luxury to be that stupid, so I kind of have to think 5-10 years ahead. So I think what works for me should work for most people, but they don't want to hear that. So.
I gotta applaud your uncle and whoever was part of your upbringing, because you are probably the smartest young woman I've ever spoken to. And let me give you why. Because I remember at my old job, I worked with a lot of women, and everybody was your age, right? And one person got married, and all of a sudden, everybody was forcing their boyfriends to propose to them. Or one girl got pregnant by accident, to force him to say, hey, let's get married. There's a lot of young women and men too who feel like, I have to do this or be married by this age. If not, I'm a failure. Right. And there's this pressure. And I think that is one of the main, if not the main, contributors to why divorces end and marriages end in divorce, because a lot of people, like you said, God, you're so smart. They don't think 5 years ahead. And that's what I think people don't think about. Marriage is fun. They see the photos. They want the Kirkland's bullshit decor. Yeah. And they see the photos, and that's all nice. But that's the first year. And then things kind of like come down to reality. And what I think a lot of people don't think about is the worst. You need to see the person you're going to marry at his worst. And how does he react when life really comes down to him? Does he pressure? Does he cave under the pressure? Does he cower, or does he stand up and say, I got this? Or does he blame you? You know what? It's all your fucking fault. Because that's the real man, and that's the real woman. And if you don't see that, then you have no business marrying them yet. And I think they don't think about that. They don't think about layoffs. They don't think about, hey, get this. I had a friend who danced all the time. Him and his girlfriend was hot. Danced all the time. He got into a car accident. Guess what? His back is ruined. He can't dance anymore. And they're not the same. And she left him.
Selfish.
And people don't, and people think if I play by the rules, I make the smart decisions, and I do this, it's going to be fine. No, life will punch you in the face one day. And if you know the woman or man you're going to marry is going to be there in the emergency room holding your hand saying, babe, I ain't going anywhere, that's the one you want to put a fucking ring on, because that's what matters.
Agreed. See that, but
and they don't think about that.
No, they don't, because everyone's still in utopia. I have people that are trying to fix crimes, and I'm like, dude, crime has been going on forever. You can't fix crime. You just gotta avoid them at this point. Like, what the fuck are you trying to do? Like, these women are crazy on TikTok where they're like, well, there should be law. I'm like, dude, there's laws everywhere. But you know the difference between here and Saudi Arabia? They actually cut your arm off when you do any sort of crime. So the crime rates are drastically low there, as opposed to here. There's no consequence. It's like very like slap on the wrist. It's very unfair, and it's like that's why the crime rate is everywhere. But like people are fixing on the dumbest shit, and they're not realizing don't do anything now that you can't keep up with 5 or 10 years. Like, I solely live off of that. Like, if I don't feel happy doing it, he's not happy doing it, don't do it, because you're creating this like love bomb shit that you can do this and that this is who you are, but it's not. And I think that's why people don't think about it long term. Is this who you can live a long, fruitful life with? No, do not fucking engage. And or if you really want them, invest into them. Like find, and I'm not saying change the person, but you want to help them build from the ground up so they can look at you like, wow, this person did this. I want to be with this person. Like, people can find love in like many avenues. That's just like physical shit or sexual stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's beyond that. But I don't know. This generation's not that deep, and everyone that's older is too broken. So I mean, you're kind of stuck between shit and shit at this point. So I'm just gonna mind my business. Continue trolling.
No. You do you. You're doing everything right. I'm gonna have my daughter follow you. You're doing everything right. I mean, you're gonna be fine. Like, I'm not worried about you.
I appreciate like these moments because I get to go into depth with somebody who understands. Like again, TikTok is just short circuits. Like, it's just enough to stir up the water, but it's not real. Like, I think at the end of the day, like it's an act. To be really honest, it's just enough, because if we're sitting here and we've been talking for like an hour and a half, no one's gonna sit here for this long. It's only people that are invested into you. That's someone you could see a long, fruitful following with. But, like, think of TikTok as hookups. Those are hookups. They don't care about your real personality. They don't care about what you have to say. They don't care what you feel. But the people who actually follow your subscribers, they're invested into you. Like, that means at any point, you can pick out, this is a loyal supporter. You can metaphor that into a relationship. This is a loyal fucking person for a relationship here, because they're willing to take their time out to listen to an hour and a half and actually understand and relate to you and learn from you. That's you don't meet that anymore nowadays. These kids are like short-tempered, short span. I only want to feel good. If it hurts my feelings, I'm tuning out. Report. And I'm like, are you serious? So,
that worries me so much. And I know. But again, I love it because it's like, it's been an hour and a half, and aside from the technical glitches, this has felt very natural and organic, and I love that. And it was a pleasure talking to you, Angela. And now, for those who want to follow you, I know you have a podcast that's kind of like on pause right now, but where can people find you?
At this point, just find my Instagram, Angela Knight _. That one's not changing. My podcast name's in the middle of changing, and my link tree has everything that is solid at that point. So if you find me on Instagram, that's really simple at that point. You could just Google Angela Knight. I come up on there also for some strange reason. But yeah, at this point, there's that, and I can't wait to find a solid ground so we can go back to this normacy right here. I miss this.
Yeah, yes, and I want to be a guest on your show. Like, whenever, just let me know.
Yeah,
I will be there. That's awesome.
Of course.
But again, Angela, thank you so much for your time. This was an absolute pleasure, and we need to do this again.
Yeah,
with better technical quality.
Yes, I know. It's stupid building. Anyways, yes, I'm gonna find time to do this again. I promise.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for having me.